The religious love to tell us that we have faith, but while that's where this video starts, it goes down a dark and rather scary rabbit hole that ought to remind us all that religion can be dangerous. So, here we go. I've looked at a Josh Sparrow video before. He's the guy who's not only fanatically religious, but he's a flat earther too. Yes, this guy is completely insane. But here, he has a video called Atheists and Unbelievers Need Real Faith, with that kind of bizarre capitalization that makes you realize that there's something severely wrong with his brain. And this illustrates the potential danger that a religious mindset can have on the mentally unstable. It's a reminder that laughing at the religious isn't all that we should do. Some of these people we need to keep an eye on. So let's go take a look.
Faith. Complete trust or confidence in someone or something.
Yeah, but you notice what the next definition down is, right? Because when the religious are talking about faith, religious faith, that's what they mean. The second one. And when they're talking about atheists, they pull the first definition out, then pretend that they are equivalent. And they are nothing of the sort.
Faith. Taking a leap of faith.
Which is not something that the non-religious do. There is a massive difference between doing something because all of the best evidence suggests that it's the best course of action to take, and leaping off a cliff because you think your imaginary friend will save you. But the religious like to equate these two ideas and pretend one is every bit as valid as the other. And they're wrong.
Trying to explain to people that don't believe in Jesus Christ that they have to have faith, they say, what about that religion? What about this person's beliefs? Show me evidence of God. Show me evidence of Jesus Christ. Prove to me that he exists.
All of which are entirely valid requests that the religious simply have no good answers for, because they can't produce any evidence. They have to try the dishonest approach and pretend that everyone is just like they are. Therefore, they don't have to prove anything because we're all the same. And this ignores the fact that we're not. The religious are just lying.
And I've said a few times that it's the faith factor. Faith is real. You can't fake it. The Lord knows when you're going to be seeking him. The Lord knows when you're going to be seeking truth so he can help you along the way.
Yeah. Prove it. Because that's really the issue here. You are trying to pretend your imaginary friend is automatically real and everyone else has faith when nothing could be further from the truth. It's why you play the musical definitions game, because you really can't do anything else. You're stuck in this bizarre position where you have to believe everyone accepts your deity, and when they don't, you have to find a way to assert that they really do anyhow. It's just dumb and dishonest, but this is religion we're talking about.
Trying to explain to an atheist or people that just don't believe that faith is the factor. You have to have faith.
It doesn't matter how many times you say that. It doesn't make it true. I have nothing resembling religious faith. I am nothing like you, thank goodness. You might not even understand how that's possible, which only proves how deluded that you are, how detached from reality that you are. But that's the fact, Jack.
If they want proof, I will say to you, a few years ago, I got on my hands and knees out of like all of my heart and soul in a moment where I said to God, I don't get things. Please help me, show me if you are real. And he came into my life, started opening my eyes. I had all these epiphanies and realizations about things.
See, here's another place where the religious are totally out of their minds. Granted, this guy is further gone than most, but they assume that a lot of atheists haven't done exactly what they did. They haven't asked God to prove that he's real, and guess what? Nothing happened. Now, the religious will pretend that atheists aren't sincere or whatever nonsense they want to rationalize so they can keep feeling good about their beliefs. But that doesn't change the fact that, for the rational among us, gods don't show up and prove themselves objectively. The religious just have confirmation bias. They desperately want it to be true, so they interpret almost anything as proof that it must be. And that's not an intelligent way to go through life.
I came onto YouTube, started making videos. I found out there's brothers and sisters there that have the same checklist of information written on their heart as I do. We didn't call each other beforehand and go, hey, you want to all go on YouTube and look crazy in the eyes of the world and tell them this bit of information, tell them this truth, tell them that the world is satanic and lying to you? We didn't do that ahead of time.
This is something that I've mentioned before, but the internet has really made wingnuts more confident in their wingnuttery. And it's not just religion, it's pedophiles, it's UFO crazies, it's furries. People who might have once felt alone because they were surrounded by people who were sane, but once they get online, they can find tiny little communities of lunatics, and now they feel like they're part of a grand collective. They're no longer the idiot on the soapbox that no one wants to pay attention to. These people become empowered. They think because they can find their way into these tiny little echo chambers that somehow they're normal, that everyone else has the problems, not them. So you're going to find these little communities of nuts on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter who are supremely convinced that they've got it all right because they finally found other lunatics that share their delusions. And these groups can be dangerous because there can be an irrational feedback loop that convinces people to act on their lunatic fringe beliefs. These people are lacking an external filter. People who can say, hey, this nutball needs to be reined in. The lack of rational voices makes them feel powerful in their delusions. And that's why they can, at least potentially, be dangerous.
We did it naturally because God has opened our eyes, especially in these times. We're living in the end times. The rapture is going to happen soon, where born-again believers in Jesus Christ who have faith and trust in Him are going to be taken out of this world. The world will go into chaos. I don't know what's going to happen exactly because it's never happened in life before, but it's going to happen. It's written to happen. God says it's going to happen.
Believers have been saying that for 2,000 years, and it hasn't happened yet. I mean, this guy is out of his mind. He's not your garden variety YouTube theist like Andy Bannister or Stands Against Reason. These people are nuts, but they're at least not certifiable. This guy is. And there's a lot of people out there just like him. People who have taken complete and total leave of their rational senses and now believe things that are potentially dangerous. Why? Because people like this, people who are convinced that the world is about to end, sometimes they do things to try to speed the process along. That's why, if you go to Israel, there are constant Christian attempts to blow up the Temple Mount in Jerusalem so that the Jews can rebuild their temple and Jesus can come back. Terrorism in the name of religion is already a thing. The last thing we need are lunatics who believe the end of the world is nigh, deciding maybe they ought to help it come a little sooner.
And when you go, show me evidence God says that, humble yourself before God. Read the Bible when you can, and it's a hard book to read. So I think you have to do it with help from Jesus Christ. You have to seek it. You don't just pick it up and read it cover to cover and go, I don't believe any of this. It's a living relationship with God.
In other words, you've got nothing. Because the same thing can be said, and in fact is said about pretty much every religion out there. All of these supposed holy books are only understandable if you have a relationship with and a belief in the deities associated with them. If you don't get it, or really, if you don't agree, then you're the one who failed, because anyone filled with the spirit of whatever is automatically going to come to the same conclusions as the religious zealots.
Praying to Him, praying to our Father in heaven in the name of Jesus Christ, praying. God is going to know when you're being honest and trying and seeking.
Sure he is. That imaginary friend you have no demonstrable reason to think is real in the first place will just magically know everything because you say so. Do you understand how absolutely insane this is? No, because you've got your own little pocket of fanatics and nothing else matters to you. It's this absurd overconfidence in things that you have no good reason to think are so that marks the true fanatic. And I'm sure this guy is proud to be one. The zealots don't care that they're zealots. They reach a point where normal people just don't matter anymore, where being thought of as crazy is a badge of honor. They're so convinced that all of this insane nonsense in their heads has to be true that there is probably no path back to the light side. It's really just pathetic.
It's the faith factor. You have to have faith and believe.
No, you don't. Again, depending on what you mean by faith. I brought this up in another video not too long ago, where I pointed out that the reason atheists tend not to use the word faith is because of the slippery slope definitions that the religious commonly employ, just like this guy did at the beginning of the video, where he tries to pretend that everyone has faith. That way, when he brings up his own faith, his own utterly irrational and batshit insane faith, he thinks he's just like everyone else. These terms get so misused by the religious that they're toxic to any kind of rational discussion. I don't have to have faith. Faith, the religious version of faith, is idiotic. But he doesn't care, does he?
If you don't, you're just mocking and scoffing and rolling your eyes and looking at all the fake evidence in this world. You will wake up and understand that the world is pretty fake. More than pretty fake, very fake.
Just look at religion. The world is a terrifying place to the religious. In fact, most of them are religious in the first place because the world is a terrifying place. It doesn't cater to them. It doesn't care about them. Therefore, they have to invent imaginary father figures in the sky to watch over them and take care of them, even if none of that is actually true. The emotional comfort is far more important to them than the reality that they actually inhabit. There is something severely wrong with these people. Some, obviously, more than others.
And it is that way because in the Bible it tells us Satan is the small g god of this world. So he has powers here. Never more than the Lord Jesus Christ, and Satan's time is just about up. He knows that. We're aware of that too. We can see all the signs. We're trying to warn you. We're trying to get you saved. But you have to have faith. That's it.
No, you have to have intelligence and the ability to step back and examine these asinine claims from a rational perspective. But the religious lunatics, they lack the ability to do that. It doesn't matter to them. They live in a magical fantasy world where the facts don't mean a thing so long as they can feel good about the crazy things that they stuff into their heads. And I don't know what to tell you. You can't reason with these people because reason means nothing where they're concerned. It says this thing in a book that they like, therefore they're going to accept it uncritically, no matter how toxic it is to the planet at large. And the people who do that, the ones who really do that, not just pay it lip service, those are the dangerous people. The ones who, in another religion, go strapping on bomb vests, lighting heretics on fire, and throwing gay people off of roofs. Any bets whether this lunatic wishes he could do the same thing?
Faith in Jesus Christ, not my opinion, not my ideas, not me pointing you to some other person, some other flawed human. We're all sinners. We're all flawed. Jesus Christ is the way, the truth, the life forever. God bless you.
Yeah, I don't think so. About the only good thing I can say about this nutball is that he isn't advocating violence against anyone, at least not in this video. I'm not going to go watching other videos of his because I value keeping my mental state intact. It takes enough of a toll pushing over the religious towers of the quote-unquote normal theists. Going after the true crazies is something else entirely. Besides, what good would it do? You can't get the regular religious folk to listen to reason. What's the point of going after the complete psychotics? I don't know about you, but I kind of picture this Josh guy spending hours a day sitting in the dark, rocking back and forth, mumbling to himself. I don't know what else to think about this loser. Now, he wouldn't care what anyone else thinks. He's got his echo chamber where all of the insanity in his head is shared among the crowd. But this really illustrates the potential danger of religion, why I refer to it as a mind poison, and why the internet can be a force of evil as well as a force for good. It lets the potentially dangerous people find other potentially dangerous people and reinforce their dangerous beliefs. Now, I'm not advocating for censorship or anything. I'm not saying that we should do away with freedom of association. Just recognize that these problems exist and watch out for these groups and their potential to do harm. I'm sure the federal government already has these guys on a watch list somewhere. This is not something that we can just ignore. Some theists are only worthy of making fun of. Some of them need to be taken seriously, not their beliefs, but the potential consequences of their beliefs. Because these people are insane. Don't tell yourself otherwise.
Boom, dicky, 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 boom.